Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're jumping right into the ultimate soccer debate. What truly makes a World Cup the best of all time? I mean, we all have our personal favorites, right? But the criteria for greatness are constantly shifting beneath our feet. Is it the pure quality of the game, the dramatic storylines, or maybe just the sheer, staggering size of the event?
Here's our game plan for This Explainer. We'll start with the best ever debate, then look at 1970 as the gold standard. Next, we'll cover 2022's drama and superstars, followed by the supersized experiment of 2026. Finally, we'll break down the cost of expansion and ask, is bigger always better?
All right, Section 1, the best ever debate. Let's get right into it by looking at a massive claim made about the 2022 tournament in Qatar. Remember when that tournament was wrapping up? FIFA president Gianni Infantino came out and boldly boasted that 2022 was literally the greatest tournament ever staged. Naturally, that sparked a fiery debate. Fans and critics were completely split. Some pointed to the unbelievable drama we all witnessed, while others immediately pushed back, arguing that older, historical tournaments had a much higher overall standard of play. And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates our core dilemma. How do we actually measure the greatest World Cup? Do we judge greatness by the absolute, undeniable quality of play on the pitch? Do we measure it by those gripping narratives and superstar storylines? Or do we look at the sheer, supersized scale of the event, where more countries finally get a seat at the table? Moving on to Section 2, 1970, the gold standard. Let's rewind to the historical benchmark for soccer purists. To really understand this, we have to look at how the game evolved visually. Back in 1954, we got the first TV broadcasts. Then 1966 brought us those kind of weird orange Schlesinger balls. But 1970, that was a total visual revolution. It marked the very first time matches were beamed globally via satellite in vibrant color. And to help fans actually track the ball on their shiny new TV sets, they introduced the iconic black and white Adidas Telstar ball. That design literally defined what a soccer ball looks like for generations. But it wasn't just about looking good on screen. The game itself took a massive leap forward. 1970 innovated the sport by introducing the very first yellow and red penalty cards to get around language barriers, and it allowed tactical substitutions for the first time. Plus, on the pitch, absolute magic. You had Pelé cementing his legacy, and that blistering game of the century where Italy edged out West Germany 4-3 in a grueling extra-time thriller. For a lot of purists, this exclusive, high-quality tournament is simply untouchable. Section 3, 2022, Drama and Superstars. Let's fast forward to a tournament defined by unbelievable on-field drama wrapped in some very heavy off-field debates. Now, 2022 is highly complex. Critics frequently judge it based on intense political and human rights debates regarding migrant workers, not to mention the highly controversial shift to a winter schedule. But if we look strictly at the source material for the football itself, the tournament delivered monumental, jaw-dropping shocks. I mean, we saw Saudi Arabia completely stun Argentina right out of the gate, and Morocco making an unprecedented, magical Cinderella run all the way to the semifinals. And it all peaked with exactly what the modern era craves: two absolute titans going head-to-head in the final. You had Lionel Messi, the veteran looking to lock in his status as the greatest of all time, facing off against Kylian Mbappe, the young phenomenon who casually dropped a hat trick. They completely secured their legacies in what a lot of people consider the greatest, most dramatic match in the history of the sport. Which brings us to Section 4, 2026, the supersized experiment. We are stepping into the present day with the North American tournament, and honestly, it's an experiment testing the absolute limits of scale. The most staggering change here is just the raw math. 104 matches. FIFA completely blew up the format, expanding from 32 teams to a massive 48. This fundamentally changes the traditional dynamic. By letting more teams in, those classic groups of death where powerhouses knock each other out early are largely a thing of the past. Critics argue the real high-stakes jeopardy doesn't even kick in until the newly minted round of 32. But you know what? The sheer scale is absolutely working for broadcasters. A booming 84 million Americans tuned into Fox Sports, and that was before the knockout rounds even started. Having these games in prime-time North American viewing windows has generated NFL-level interest. The appetite is just massive. But, of course, that supersized expansion comes with exorbitant costs for everyday fans. Face value tickets for the final have literally hit nearly $33,000 on FISA's official resale marketplace.
With the tournament expecting to generate over $9 billion in revenue, the financial strategy is undeniable, even if it completely prices out the average supporter. On the flip side of all that commercialism, this massive scale creates unprecedented global inclusion. It allows a tiny 500,000-person island nation like Cape Verde to step onto the world stage and remain undefeated against traditional giants like Spain and Uruguay. These are unforgettable micro-stories that simply wouldn't exist in a restricted 32-team format. It really transforms the event into a global street party.
Section 5. The cost of expansion. We have to stop and ask, what is the actual cost of this massive expansion on the sport itself? This brings up a brilliant business analogy from the player unions. Look at the NFL. They proved the value of scarcity by pulling in around $11 billion in revenue on a super short 17 to 21 game schedule. Meanwhile, soccer leagues like the Premier League play almost double the games but actually make less revenue. So it really begs the question, is FIFA's new more is more strategy actually diluting the product? And then there's the human element. Players' unions are seriously sounding the alarm on the physical toll. An expanded calendar means less rest for the top athletes. In fact, FIFPro data showed a massive 44% spike in injuries at Chelsea after the expanded Club World Cup. The tragic irony here is that by trying to showcase more soccer, key superstars are being run into the ground and end up missing the spectacle entirely due to physical strain. Finally, Section 6, is bigger always better? This is the ultimate evaluation of the modern game. We really have to weigh both sides of this coin. On one hand, you have the incredible joy of giving access to debutante nations like Curacao and Haiti, letting kids see their heroes on the biggest stage. But on the other hand, you risk a watered-down group stage, exhausted players, and this lingering feeling that the high-stakes tournament doesn't actually begin until 70-something games have already been played. Yet, the stats don't lie. The on-field product in 2026 is currently delivering an average of 3 goals per game. That is the highest average across 23 men's World Cups. So despite all the very real fears about dilution and fatigue, the pure entertainment value and attacking quality are still sky high for the fans. And the appetite for this supersized tournament? It is absolutely there. Get this. Nearly 10,000 die-hard viewers in the US watched at least 1 minute of every single one of the first 48 matches on Fox. That is an astonishing level of dedication. It proves that for a lot of people, there is literally no such thing as too much soccer.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. What makes the sport truly great for you? Do you value the exclusive, high-quality, perfectly paced scarcity of a tournament like 1970? Or are you totally all in on the inclusive, chaotic, supersized global party of 2026? Thanks so much for joining me to explore this debate.